Hey guys, this is Leader635 on Gemmy Master Animatronics, and today I'm going to make a review over these 3 Gemmy Rappin' Rodents made in 2007. So, how did I get to own these? Basically, this one I bought it off Kevin, this one I think he gave it to me because it didn't work, and this one was a birthday present from him. So, basically all 3 from Kevin, and I only had to pay for this one. Which, funny thing, it was the only one that had a, it was, because this was fully working before. Because Kevin had fixed it because something came off, this spinning knob probably came off, and he didn't even assemble it correctly, that's the thing. Because there's a specific way, and I'll get to that in a bit. But when I was bringing it home, this broke, so it wouldn't swing anymore. So basically Kevin got these at the indoor flea market probably, and for a steal. I must have paid like $10 for this piece of shit, but whatever, past things. And of course this one did not work just because the button wires were off. The button was complete, and there's a broken leg, but again, I'll get to that in a bit. And this one had an issue that I thought at first it was a factory glitch until I started messing with it, and I noticed that if I were to, prevent it from moving, it wouldn't glitch anymore, because the thing would you would turn it on, it would sing for a little bit, maybe it would stop moving or it'd start repeating itself. There were plenty of glitches. It would make like a really loud sound. It would just shut off and make a buzzing sound, and it would also just shut off and not even respond anymore, and you would have to take the batteries out, push the button a few times, and then put them back in for the thing to start moving again. But it was a simple ass issue. Thank goodness there's no glitch, there's no permanent damage to it, so it works like a charm. So all these 3 required almost the same thing, cleaning, even though this one did not need cleaning, these 2 needed. I had to open up the hand through the sleeve. I had to make like a cut that under the sleeve, the lower portion, and I had to undo the finger details, which again have a specific way of being stitched as well. So I'll get to that in a second. So this is the one that sings "In the Club" by 50 Cent, and it sings a rapping hip-hop-ish version of "Joy to the World." This one sings Rapper's Delight, just like the Hamsters, and it sings kind of a rapping version of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," and this one sings Soulja Boy, and it sings, I thought it was going to be Deck the Halls, but out of nowhere it started singing Up on the Housetop, so yeah. Anyways, so we're going to get to every single one in a second. Now, again, I'm first saying all the things that these things have in common. So they all had this issue where they were badly, they were just badly made in general. It's not the thing that, and I don't even know how the hell they lasted 12 years, because the way they're, wired and everything is just crap. But first of all, whenever you want to take one of these apart, if you want to access the mechanism, there's a specific way. Maybe some people have done it before and know about it. Some other people may have no clue. These things have a zip tie at the bottom, but you can't access the zip tie. Why can't you access it? This is the thing that Kevin made, the mistake that Kevin did. I don't think he opened the back, so he just went by breaking the zip tie through the bottom. And I think that's what actually broke a little piece of plastic, if I'm not wrong. I think this was the one that had a piece of plastic that was broken. Let me check super quick if I have the picture. Yeah, basically what Kevin ended up doing is he ended up breaking the zip tie from the bottom, and one of the little pieces that limits the zip tie from going either up or down, which was one of the inner ones, so you really don't notice it, but it's important anyways, it broke off. Thankfully it was there, it was everything, every fixable and such. But what you gotta do with this thing when you take it apart, first of all, is take off the shirt. Okay, in this one, take off the shirt. On this one, I didn't even bother taking anything out, I'll be honest. I was supposed to, but then I was like, you know what, I'll just do it the the dumb way. But what you got to do is take this off, and you have to undo the seam that's on the back. Of course, that's a handmade seam that all of these have. And that's going to leave you enough of a space and enough of an opening for you to take, to basically push everything, to pull the skin forward and leave the arms and the head naked pretty much. Then what you got to do is actually push it down. Yeah, because you have to, put that part of the skin inside out. And that's when you're going to see the zip tie. That's how they assemble it. They basically have it upside down. Let me show it, because I'm pretty sure in the club, it must be this one that I showed it in. What they basically do is this. They the entire skin is inside out. They put the zip tie, they tied it and everything, and then they put stuffing in this gap where the thing's swinging, so it actually has, some filling on there. Once that's done, they just move everything up, and I'm not really sure yet how they do with the button, but I do have a feeling they do it before it's stitched to the hand or something. I'm not really sure about that, but the way I did it is I just cut the bottom of this. All of these have an incision in the bottom that I had to stitch afterwards, and then I would cut these finger details, and after I would cut them, I would just pull this inside out, and you would have the button stitched to the hand. So I would just cut the thread and take it off through here. So as I said, all three have new buttons, so that's not something I should be concerned about in a long time. And of course, this one needed an additional thing afterwards, because I had to stitch the hand shut so it would hold the mic, and at the same time the thread goes through two little holes that the mic has, so it doesn't go off. Now, I'm aware that some of these have missing parts, especially this one that doesn't have the cheese thing. I was thinking on 3D printing it, but then I was like, hey, I don't have the proper filament color. I might as well just leave it like that for now. Okay, this is something that can be fixed at some given point if I just feel like super detailist. I mean, I'm perfectionist enough, but as I said, right now I just don't feel like doing it. I gotta ask someone for the measurements of like the height, the size and everything, and so I can design it, but that'll be for another time. So again, you basically take them apart that way, and when you're done, of course, you put it right. There's you put the stuffing in here so it stays here. If it doesn't stay and it goes a little up, you just push it down. The head, you have to be very not careful, but detailist on how you assemble it, because if you don't assemble the head, well, not assemble the head, but if you don't adjust the head correctly, moving the stuffing and everything, you're gonna end up with the head hardly moving, because this is how the heads are supposed to move. It's supposed to do that rotation movement that most other motion-it Santas and some other things that will be reviewed soon have. If you don't do it that way, you're gonna end up with a dull head just doing this, which is kind of what happened on here. But it isn't that bad. Anyways, another thing that's really worth mentioning, as when you replace the button, you're gonna have to do a cut on the bottom, and you're gonna have to undo the finger details to take the stuffing out in one single piece. You are gonna have to remember, or reverse engineer how these details are stitched, because they have a really specific way. What basically happens on these is you start by the bottom, you go to the top, you go to here, and here, what would be the finger, it's interrupted. Well, the limit, I should say. It's interrupted because it goes through the hand, then it goes down there, and then it goes diagonally to here. It goes all the way to here, again, interrupted here, goes down here, and then it just goes straight up, and you make a knot over here. That's how these have the finger details. And in this one, I had to do that, plus the labor of having to stitch the hand, and it's so you cannot notice it, and so it holds the mic and everything. What else? I was gonna mention something. Okay, of course, this one had this issue where the spinning knob came off, which in fact can be corroborated with a picture. But I guess those are things I'm gonna probably leave for whenever I explain every single one. So first, we're gonna go with my first one, the one I fixed the first, because I was so nervous, because it was like, Jesus Christ, I really hope this thing's not dead or anything. This is I call it the Eskimo rapping rodent, which is the one that sings Joy to the World and In the Club. This is the button. Now, the button wasn't necessarily bad. It's still useful, but you would have to push it slightly harder than usual. That's why, if you're restoring these and you want to leave them tip-top condition, that's a warning. That should ring you an alarm. I gotta change it. So I replaced it, and as I usually do with these things, because these things from factory, they just have 2 legs enabled. The other 2 are just cut. So what I did was I just joined the 2 legs from one side with the 2 legs of the other side, which, how the hell do I not have a picture of that? Oh, there. This is the button that went into it. It's one of the buttons that Daniel gave me. As you guys can see, I bent these back and I soldered them to this. And then, of course, the wires and the heat shrink tubing and all that. So that's something that I've done with all these 3. So, again, now we're going to go with the circuit issue that I said before. Hey, this was going to, and I was going to explain it. So here I go. What happened with this thing, believe it or not, is that there's this nail that it has inside. There's these 2 aluminum nails that it has, or aluminum shafts that have a bigger diameter so they don't go out or anything. They have 2. They have one in the middle, which is slightly thicker. That's basically the point of articulation it has for the body, and then it has another one that has to be slightly long to for the metallic lever it has, because it has a metallic lever, which I may show if I did. Okay, that's the shorter nail. This is the shorter nail that it has, and as you guys can see, it was rubbing against a capacitor. That's the whole issue. I hot glued the capacitor in place. I soldered because it was getting detached from the board, and of course, you guys know what happens when capacitors get detached or go bad. Bad stuff happens. So I hot glued it, I resoldered it to the board and everything. It's secured and it works like a charm. Another thing I did was I straightened this shaft, and of course, as I said, it's aluminum, so it's really easy to bend. Absolutely easy. And I put it a bit shorter, but not short, because it's got to have a certain freedom, a certain space. So, because this is straight and the thing's just going like this. And the mechanism is basically being moved back and forth. It's got to have a little free space here, so it can, travel around the shaft while it goes up and down. And, of course, corrosion-wise, all 3 had their springs soldered and the corrosion taken off with vinegar. They look great, I gotta say that. And where the hell? Okay, so here's the slightly longer shaft. This is the one that goes through the through the front, and it finishes on the back. And on the back, you bend it. And in my case, as I said before, I'm perfectionist. I don't want anything laying loose or just not being as secured as it's supposed to be. What I ended up doing is hot gluing everything in place with really good hot glue. I'm not talking about the shitty hot glue. I'm talking about the one that melts really good. I'm going to explain what about the wires later on, because they're not supposed to go through here. So this one, of course, the back one, I hot glued it. I also hot glued the ones from the bottom of the arm, because the bottom of the arm has something very similar to what the holiday hip hoppers have, where the arm goes up and there's a string attached. But in these, it's not like that. It looks like they used something similar but double. So there's the mechanism, and the mechanism has a gear with a groove on it that goes, that basically pushes this rod. And this rod is basically attached to this part of the arm, which is spring-loaded. So the arm, every time it releases, it just goes to the outside. It just goes, it goes out. And when it goes in, it basically just makes the entire arm do this. So it's a pretty interesting mechanism that they used. Of course, the head is just a bent shaft with a piece that's all covered in cloth, so this doesn't get tangled up. I don't want to imagine what would happen if you know if something was to get tangled up here or here. So other than that, I'm guessing that's practically it. Here's a few better pictures of how the thing works. You guys see there's like a little curve on here. That's what touches, that's what hits against the groove on the gear. And of course, this gets attached here before you assemble it. Again, here's two other aluminum rods. This one's not. This one's steel. These two are aluminum, and what you basically do first is there's a screw in here, so you screw it, and then you put these and you bend them so they stay, you know, in place and everything. Here's the metallic lever piece that makes it move from side to side. Other than that, they have the classic coin speaker, which is very neat. But here's the thing that really bothered me about these Rabbit Rodents. The thing is swinging all the time, and they didn't even bother on hot gluing the wires. Literally. Let me show you what I mean. The wires here are not going through anywhere that secures them. They are just, you know, hot glued with really shitty ass hot glue. It just breaks apart to the little two pegs on the base. So what I ended up doing with this, as I was pissed and I didn't want any wires coming up the motor or the speaker, is the poor gluing job that they made. I made it but better. And again, here's the shaft straight. Forgot to say that. Here's the chip. Had to secure it again. So once I got the corrosion gone and everything, I basically started hot gluing everything. I put hot glue here to, you know, I resoldered all the wires, secured everything on here so no wires come off anywhere. The chip and everything. Now the chip, I gotta mention something about the chip. This must be the chip format that they, for most China fake animatronics that they actually use, because most generic animatronics I used to have had this exact same kind of chip. So I think it was worth mentioning. So here's where I started doing. I secured the chip in place, not yet. Yeah, this is a mistake that I made with 2 of them, and on the 3rd one I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it 3 times. So, because then you cannot put the nail goes through the inside to the outside, and then you bend it, and it's, you know, the space in between is not enough. As you guys can see, there's everything resoldered, the capacitor, and blah, blah, blah. So what you do is you solder everything, but before that, what I do is I take apart the upper half. And I desolder and resolder the, you know, I cut the wires, resolder them so they have a brand new piece of copper that, you know, that's guaranteed not to have been flexioned and everything. And I just hot glue everything pretty well so it doesn't come off. Not to the point where I can't resolder anything later on, but to the point they are well held. Same with the speaker wires. Now, after that, there's 2 holes right under the ones where the rod from the middle portion of the body attached to. You know, the pass-through, pretty much. They pass through here, and here's where the mechanism is. What I did was I just desoldered everything, and I resoldered them, but passing them through these holes, and there's still plenty of space left for me to dislocate the thing. So I did that with the motor wires that go through the back. You know, I fed them through the back, and these speaker wires through the front. And of course, has the 2 left that could not go through any hole were the button wires, and of course this is purposely done for that. I just hot glued them to these, in between these 2 pegs. You know, how it's supposed to be pretty much. Of course, then I added hot glue here. Maybe the wire, I must have moved it a little bit because it was too bulky there. But I did that. And of course, this is pretty much what I did with the button wire and everything, and this is how it looks assembled. I put hot glue in the front and in the back to make sure that nothing moves and nothing gets desoldered. So of course, right after all of those hot gluings and everything to make sure that it's all fixed, I just put the cloth on, and the result, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Oh, the wrong song. It begins by In the Club. So that's the first song. And here's the second one, which is the Christmas relating. No, they had to justify that this was a Christmas thing.
I said joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. I said let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing.
So that's that one. Then we have the Rapper's Delight one. Of course, this one had both wires disconnected from the button, and actually one of the legs had broke off. And I do understand that because the wrist part is just so wobbly. It used to be wobblier before, but there. Now, one thing I want to mention about this one before... Oh, Jesus Christ, 20 minutes. Okay, fuck it. What I want to mention about this one is that it has two extra components to lower the loudness of the speaker. Okay, it has this one resistor and it has this one 103 capacitor. Now, the others, of course, all of the others don't necessarily have that. Let me show you. This is the area where it's supposed to have them. Nothing. So again, even the chip, let's just say that the layout is different. So these do have a couple extra components in them, but that's practically everything. Again, same as the others. So here we go with the other song, the weird one. I used to see this one on YouTube years ago, and I didn't even know. I was like, okay, this is the one that sings that weird rapping version of Jingle Bells. And who would say that now I own it? So here we go.
'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. La 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 la. Well, the children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums stepped in the air. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. When what to my wondering I should appear, but a miniature sleigh and a tiny reindeer.
And of course, here's the third one, which has some extra thing to it, of course. As I said before, the thing was, detached and everything. But this one's weird because this is one, of course, this one had a few marks before, like pencil or something, had like a green line here and a few other things that I was able to successfully remove. But this one, they did it worse. They actually ruined it. So this one has these things. I don't even know what the fuck they are. Maybe some initials or something. N-A... what the fuck is this? O-Y-A or B-H-O? I have no idea. And of course, right here, they just put newbie. Newbie. They called this thing newbie. What the fuck, kids? Kids, Jesus Christ. Anyways, here's what this one does. So that's practically everything on these three rapping rodents. So what's left now? Well, this.
Go, 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 shawty. It's your birthday. We go party like it's your birthday. We go party like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give a care, it's not your birthday. My flow, my show, run me the dough. That must be all my fancy things. My crib, my cars, my clothes, my jokes. Look, only as a dream up and I ain't changed. Yeah. Bang bang, the boogie to the boogie, say up, jump the boogie to the bang bang boogie, let's rock. You don't stop, rock the riddle that'll make your body rock. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house, not a creature was stirring. I said, joy to the world, the war is come. Let earth receive her king. I said, let every heart prepare him and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and hell and nature sing.
Alright, so that's practically everything. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next review.